Hey everybody, Professor Carafit here. I thought I'd do a quick key to that exam I posted. Once again, forgive me, the numbers are all kind of weird, but I copied and pasted from old exams and did not want to take 2 hours to fix the numbering. Okay, which of the following kingdoms have mitochondria that use oxygen as the final electron acceptor in aerobic respiration? Well, what would be the best answer for that question? Animals, plants, fungi? Well, no, the answer is all the above. Everybody on that list uses mitochondria. They all burn sugars for food. Plants also make those sugars, but they also burn those sugars. All right. Assuming they all belong to the same fern, arrange the following structures from largest to smallest. So we have antheridia, gametes, gametophyte, sporophyte. Okay, so in ferns, gametophytes are the biggest. I'm sorry, sporophytes are the biggest. Gametophytes are the second biggest. Gametophytes have antheridia, and those antheridia make gametes. So the correct answer will be 4, 3, 1, 2. 4, 3, 1, 2, right there. In which group are the gametophytes microscopic? Well, stop it. That's in seed plants. Seed plants have microscopic gametophytes. So pollen grains, inside of them is a couple cells that make sperm, and inside the seed are gametophytes that make eggs. A botanist discovers a new species of plant in a tropical rainforest. After observing its anatomy and life cycle, he notes the following characteristics. Flagellated sperm, so the sperms swim, right? Xylem, separate gametophyte and sporophyte generations with the sporophyte dominant and no seeds. This plant is most likely closely related to the ferns. The ferns have xylem and phloem, and they have a gametophyte and a sporophyte, and they have sperm that swim. There are single-celled land plants. No. Which of the following statements correctly describes a portion of the pine life cycle? Female gametophytes use mitosis to produce eggs. Seeds are produced in pollen cones. Pollen grains contain female gametophytes. The only one up here that makes any sense is this one. And remember, in plants, all plants make sperm and egg by mitosis. The gametophyte makes sperm or egg by mitosis. Angiosperm pollen, let me see here. Angiosperm pollen tubes release 2 sperm into the ovule, but only 1 is needed. That's false. Both are needed because angiosperms have double fertilization. Which trait would be a useful modification in wind-pollinated flowers? Long branch pollen tubes. Remember, those are like sperm elevators, right? Numerous nectar-producing cells. No, because they don't need pollinators. Colorful petals. No, they don't need pollinators. Branch stigmas or pheromone secretion. Branch stigmas. That would increase the surface area, allowing pollen to land on the flower. A fruit is most commonly... Well, here's your options, and students will often confuse A and B. But the answer is a mature ovary. An ovary is that swollen part of the flower that contains ovules. Ovules become seeds, ovaries become fruits. The underground bodies of most fungi are composed of hyphae, referred to as mycelium, have cellulose cell walls. The answer to this one? 2 of the above are correct. Which 2? That one and that one. They actually do not have cellulose cell walls, but they do have cell walls. They're fortified with chitin. Both animals and fungi are heterotrophic. What distinguishes animal heterotrophy from fungal heterotrophy is that only animals derive their nutrition by ingesting it. Food moves along the digest. Oh, this is kind of a leftover from an old test. You should be able to answer that one. That's true. What are the gametophytes, or where are the gametophytes of a redwood tree? The whole tree is a gametophyte at the base of the roots, and the ovules and the pollen, or only in the seeds? Well, the ovules and the pollen both are, or at least contain gametophytes, right? What is not a role of xylem? Boom. This one. It does not reproduce to make more xylem. I know that much. Let's see what the other options are. No. Yep. That's the right one. Okay, so it does the other things. It does not reproduce to make more xylem. I didn't really cover that in the lecture this year, but that's the truth. Okay, if you poke a hole in phloem, what would happen? Well, you tell me. If you poke a hole in phloem, well, guess what? Liquid will squirt out. If you poke a hole in xylem, air would be sucked in. One is a positive pressure system, one's a negative pressure system. Phloem always carries materials in one direction. That's false. It carries things from the source to the sink, and that can flip-flop. Okay, here's a short answer. What's the difference between a gamete and a spore? They're both haploid, but a gamete has to fuse with another cell to make a zygote, whereas a spore just grows by mitosis into a haploid organism. Finish this plant life cycle. Be sure, I'm going to let you do that one on your own. You should be able to do that without looking at any notes, but if you need to look at notes to get started, knock yourself out. But it starts at a gametophyte. What would happen next? Mitosis would make a gamete. What would happen after that? Oh, gametes would fuse together. What would form from that? That's how you draw a plant life cycle. Which phylum was not present during the Cambrian explosion? Platyhelminthes, Cnidaria, none of the above. They were all present by the end of the Cambrian explosion. The Phylum Porifera has very loosely organized tissues, sessile larvae, amoebocytes, or 2 germ layers. I didn't go into germ layers this semester. I didn't talk much about the larvae, so I probably wouldn't put this one on your actual test, but it definitely has amoebocytes, a type of cell that crawls around. Gardeners often spray plants with soapy water to kill insects. What is the soapy water doing? Soaks into the skin, causing cell membrane damage, clogging the trachea. That's the one. All right. Segmentation is one of the weaknesses of the plant of arthropods. That's false. That's a strength. They have segments that can be devoted to different tasks like crawling, grabbing things, flying, whatever. The sporophyte generation produces sporophytes, make spores via meiosis. Pollen grain lands on a flower and the pollen tube grows to deposit the sperm. In what order would the pollen tube pass through these structures? Well, it's gonna where does the pollen grain land? It lands on the stigma. So this would be number 1. Okay, number 1 would go there. Where would number 2 be? Number 2 is the style. Number 3 would be the ovary. Number 4 would be the micropyle, which is not a term I crammed into the online version of this course. That's the opening to the ovule. And then lastly, the gametophyte would be the last answer there. What is the derived trait that unites the craniates? Cranium. That's a head. Which of these traits would be found in a tetrapod but not a fish? Let's look. A neck. Oops, a neck would not be found in a fish. So this was the first fossil we know of with a neck is Tiktaalik. Which of the following is the most species-rich vertebrate group? Species-rich vertebrate group, that would be the ray fin fish. Monotremes are mammals that, what? They have live birth? No. Have a pouch? No. They lay, nope, that's wrong. They're not extinct, but they do, they lay eggs. Stop it. All right, they lay eggs. Most of them are extinct, but there are a couple around, like the duck-billed platypus and the echidna. Besides seeds, what are 3 ways seed plants are better adapted to life on land than mosses? Well, you tell me. You better be able to list this, right? Well, let's think about it. Seed plants, they don't need water to get their sperm to the egg. They have vascular tissue, okay? So they don't need water to get sperm. They have seed dispersal. They have pollinators. They have big leaves for photosynthesis. And once, I think I said vascular tissue. So they have all those things that make them better adapted to life on land than the mosses. This one we kind of already did above. It's plant life cycle. Besides the dorsal hollow nerve cord, what are 2 traits found in all chordates? Well, you could include the postanal tail, the notochord, the pharyngeal slits. Those are all traits found in the chordates. All right, hopefully that helps some of you who were stuck.